Yes, and I'm sure Jamaica and the diaspora is expecting that as well. Now, when you laid it out the way you did, Professor, seems like a pretty long list.
Yes, and I only laid out some
And you
of
only
what
laid
he
out
said.
some. It sounds to me like all hands on deck is the Clarion's call.
Yes, too often as Jamaicans, in politics and in other sectors of the society and the economy in our own lives, we make commitments that we do not keep.
Right.
From what I've seen of the Prime Minister in this past, the last electoral cycle, he didn't achieve all that he set out. But from time to time, he gave an update
Yes, yes.
and said, we didn't achieve this, but we're going to keep working.
Mm.
Very few prime ministers have done this now.
Yes.
What they normally do is just implement.
Ah, I understand.
Very few, right, have done this. And what he has done is to say, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things. Right now, I've achieved 1 to 3.
Ah,
We're not so
understood.
good on 3, 4, 5, and 6, but we're going to keep working.
Working on
He
it.
might have not answered them during the criticisms about them, 3, 4, 5, and 6, during the debates in the election, but he has said that he's committed to accomplishing all that he has set out to achieve for the country.
Understood. So let's go into what you think the Prime Minister and his administration should place their emphasis on the next, let's say, 2 to 3 months, given the environment that we are in, the pandemic, and also the economic environment.
Well, the first thing is to reduce the rate of COVID-19 infections.
Yeah.
We are now seeing a spike, or what I'd like to call a surge, in the daily numbers of new infection.
Yes.
So this is the immediate priority. And once we can get this under control, then other things we can start working on, like the economy,
Yes.
education, land reform, housing, healthcare, the refurbishing of the hospitals that he mentioned, refurbishing of the health centers, and so on. If we don't contain the pandemic in Jamaica, we're not going to achieve the other targets, because we see how just trying to deal with it
Yes.
has led to a slump in the economy, led to a surge in mental health issues,
Worldwide.
led to
Yes.
unemployment. I know worldwide, and I live in the world, but my
Yes.
immediate home is Jamaica.
Is Jamaica.
So I'm
Right.
focusing on Jamaica. And so we have to tame this beast
Yes.
before we'll be able to achieve any of the targets that the Prime Minister has set for the country. And he has said that it is an immediate priority,
Yeah. So you're
working to reduce the high rate of infection.
so you're in agreement with his immediate priorities.
It is.
Yeah.
It is everywhere. But this is where I live, and this is the country that I want my child to remain. From he was a small boy, he wanted to go back to the United States.
Yes.
And I want a Jamaica that I can say, look what is happening. You don't need to go.
The place to live, work, raise
Work
families.
and raise a family.
Do business.
And that my nieces and nephews and my siblings and my cousins who are all domiciled in the United States, if we can get this program going,
Yes.
they will return, because they are all economic migrants.
Understood. Understood. So, Professor Charles, this I believe is the last question I have for you. Given all that you have presented, and against the backdrop of all the Prime Minister has said, and against the further backdrop of the situation we've highlighted, underlined COVID-19, I believe that the management of expectations is also important. So, what would you say that Jamaicans can expect against this backdrop, the impact on their lives and the economy?
Well, Jamaicans, outside of what he has said, they have their own expectations. The average Jamaican don't compare Jamaica to another developing country.
Right.
Academics, we will compare Jamaica to Barbados and to Trinidad and to the Bahamas.
Yes.
But the average Jamaican compares Jamaica with the UK,
Hmm.
the United States, and Canada.
Okay.
That is what they are expecting. That's a tall order. But if the Prime Minister can cauterize corruption as he has committed to do, and he can achieve what he has set out this afternoon, then we'll be approaching um, a developed country status. We'll be able to say we're on our way.
Understood. And we can see some movement in that direction with the highlighted ministries that the ministers that will be sworn in this afternoon: health, foreign affairs, national security, and finance. Right. So we're seeing that the focus is there on maintaining stability in those ministries.
Health, finance,
Yes.
national security, and education, and so on. They are very, very important. And the finance minister and the minister of national security, outside of the prime minister, they carry a lot of weight in the cabinet and in terms of the respect they get in the country and how people view them. So prime ministers tend to make their best ministers either a minister of national security or a minister of finance, because of the importance of these two super ministries.
Carries a lot of weight.
In national development.
Yeah. Okay. Understood. Dr. Professor Christopher Charles, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me
This afternoon.
And I am looking and I'm hoping that all that was said this evening will be achieved.
Yeah.
Jamaica land we love.
That's right. Place to live, work, raise families, and do business. It's Vision 2030. Just a bit of detail on our guest this afternoon. Dr. Professor Christopher Charles has a PhD in psychology. He was trained in political science and psychology at the City University, New York. He taught at John Jay College of Criminal Justice at City University of New York, and he also taught at the King Graduate School of Monroe College in New York. He comes highly recommended, and he has given us his insights into the speech this afternoon and also his hope as a Jamaican, a son of the soil, going forward with this new administration. Thank you so much, Professor Charles, for joining us this afternoon. Test, test, test. I am. Ten, nine, eight, seven, six, five, four. Thank you for staying with us. This is the swearing-in ceremony of the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Prime Minister Andrew Holness. And it's not just one ceremony. We are going to be having another swearing-in ceremony, as we mentioned. If you're just joining us on our live stream from the JIS website, www.jis.gov.jm, or any of our social media channels, we want to welcome you and thank you for joining us. Gone is the swearing-in of our Prime Minister for his next, he has come into another term, his consecutive term, first consecutive term, I believe. And now we are going to go to the swearing in just a few moments, we hope, of 4 key government ministers. Those ministries are the Ministry of Health, National Security, Finance, and Foreign Affairs. And I have here quite a bit of information on the mandates of those ministries and also the persons we expect to fill those seats this afternoon. And so as you've joined us, I'm going to be going through a bit of that until the ceremony begins for the swearing in of the ministers. I'm Theodore Henry, and I'm coming to you from the lawn of King's House. Now, I'm on the lawn, but the ceremony is happening inside due to the COVID-19 precautions. And so where usually swearing in ceremonies were large, a lot of pomp and pageantry, today we have scaled it down and had a more somber service in light of the current pandemic. Now, I mentioned that the ministers that will be sworn in are in 4 critical areas: health, national security, finance, and foreign affairs. Now, let's begin with health. We expect the swearing in of Dr. Christopher Tufton this afternoon, and Dr. Christopher Tufton was first appointed Minister of Health and Wellness in 2016. Since then, he has championed the cause of reducing the onset of non-communicable diseases, and most persons who are watching, in fact, I would expect everyone is familiar with Jamaica Moves as one of the major programs. Now, under Dr. Christopher Tufton's watch, he identified these non-communicable diseases as one of the greatest threats to health and wellness worldwide. And that was reflected in the name change of the ministry to the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Dr. Tufton has also made inroads partnerships to include the pharmacy program and the adopter clinic program, which was launched at a diaspora conference. And from my information, there was quite a bit of uptake on that program. Persons came back to Jamaica land they loved and they adopted clinics. His biggest assignment to date, surely, has to be his role in the management of the country's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is, at this time, it has always been, but especially at this time, it is one of Jamaica's most important government ministries. And as the country looks to recover from the COVID-19 crisis, its staff continue to work assiduously to contain the spread of COVID-19, which has to date infected over 3,000 persons in Jamaica since March 10. Now, I'd like to give you a bit of information on the mandate of the Health Ministry. Let me just get my notes here. Now, the stated mission of the Ministry of Health and Wellness is it is to ensure the provision of quality health services and to promote healthy lifestyles and environmental practices. The ministry, together with its regional health authorities, the Southeast, North, the agencies and related organizations make up the public health system, and they are responsible for healthcare delivery across the island. I don't know how many of you would know the vision statement of the ministry, but for those who don't, and for those who do, here's a reminder: healthy people, healthy environment. It's a vision statement that sees a health system that is client-centered and guarantees access to quality healthcare for every person in our population at reasonable costs. Healthcare costs is always a concern, so reasonable costs are part of the vision, and which takes into account the needs of the vulnerable among us. The health portfolio. The health system was decentralized in 1997, and with the promulgation of the Health Services Act and the establishment of 4 regional health authorities to deliver health care to the population. Those 4 authorities are the Southeast Regional Health Authority, the Northeast Regional Health Authority, the Southern Regional Health Authority, and the Western Regional Health Authority. The Ministry of Health has a strategic plan. In fact, Prime Minister Andrew Holness stressed the central idea of his administration being working according to a core plan, not just going about just day by day, but ticking the items that fall alongside the plan. And so there is a strategic plan that is at home in the Ministry of Health, and I'd like to go through some of the details of it. And by the way, this plan was prepared in keeping with Government of Jamaica strategic corporate planning methodologies and processes, and it is not just about ticking off that we have done this thing, but that there are outcomes that can be seen, measured, and promoted. The priorities are selected based on national health needs and the island's disease burden, as well as the Millennium Developmental Goals, MDGs, for global development. And let me just take a moment to adjust my mic. There, it's a bit better. The strategies that are laid out. The strategies that are laid out in the plan dictate increased attention to health education and the promotion to reorient our people towards health-seeking behaviors. Not so much just to have healthy people, but to keep healthy people through the lifestyle that they live. And that brought us programs, as we mentioned before, like Jamaica Moves. The strategy also recognizes that expectations are high. They are very high, and especially in this current pandemic that we're facing, the expectations are even higher. And so, in keeping with the mass media portrayal of the management of illness in developed countries, the system therefore has to seek to perform to these standards. What is a ministry, what is a system if it does not serve its people? However, it is identified that there is a low awareness of the increasing cost of maintaining the health system, and so user fees, they were introduced recently, and persons are being asked to make a contribution to healthcare services. And your contribution, it is necessary, but even so, it still represents only a fraction of the real costs to the system. But our vision in 2030 is to make Jamaica, by 2030, is to make Jamaica the place to live, work, raise families, and do business. And so, as the popular Jamaican adage goes, every mickle makes a muckle. The Ministry of Health and Wellness has therefore developed partnerships with local, regional, and international organizations to facilitate meeting the challenges, achieving the objectives, and maintaining standards in keeping with the expectations and the aim, the stated aim, to deliver a high-quality health service to ensure the health and well-being of our population. All right. So I hope that was enlightening to you, a bit of the ministry's policies, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and also the minister we expect to be sworn in this afternoon, Dr. Christopher Tufton. I'd like to skip on over to the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service and give you a bit of information on Dr. Nigel Clark. Dr. Clark has been the Minister of Finance and the Public Service since March 2018. He is also the Member of Parliament for St. Andrew North Western. This afternoon, he will be sworn in to continue his management of this crucial ministry. Fiscal responsibility has always been a big concern for Jamaica, and in the recent debates, he also maintained that that was a focus his ministry would continue. It is under Dr. Clark's leadership that the government's COVID allocation of resources for employees, and most people know this program by its acronym, CARE, the CARE program was introduced and implemented. The CARE program sought to cushion the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on individuals and businesses. The program targeted those most affected who are least likely to have the resources to weather the economic impact of the pandemic. The Prime Minister mentioned that his administration is for all Jamaicans, and so policies have to be developed to help every aspect of Jamaican society. Your stream is back up, so it's no longer me you're seeing our Prime Minister returning to the ballroom, and the break was so that sanitization could occur. We are very serious, as we spoke about the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the managing of this pandemic. We are very serious about maintaining the COVID-19 protocols. The Prime Minister took his seat, Dr. Christopher Tufton took his seat, and Dr. Nigel Clark, we're seeing him also entering and taking his seat. Here we also see Dr. Horace Chang entering, and I do have a bit of information I'd like to share with you on the Ministry of National Security, as that is one of the crucial ministries that will have a minister sworn in this afternoon. We were on the Ministry of Finance. And before I get to that, Chief Justice of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Brian Sykes, has returned to the ballroom and has taken his seat. The vision statement of the Ministry of Finance is to be a center of excellence that enables sustainable growth and development through sound policy, planning, and quality service delivery. The mission, and their statement is, we combine professionalism and expertise in the pursuit of sound socioeconomic and financial policies for the achievement of sustainable growth and development. The ministry can be identified by their core values, and the acronym for those core values is FIT-TEAM, F-I-T-T-E-A-M, F for fairness, I for integrity, T for teamwork, T again for transparency, E for excellence, A for accountability, M for mutual respect. The priority goals of the ministry are geared towards the following: enabling growth and national development through a sound and predictable macroeconomic policy framework that maintains low inflation, stable exchange rates, and competitive interest rates. Also, another point on the priority goals is the improvement of revenue administration by creating a simple, equitable, and competitive tax environment to ensure greater compliance and also to enhance growth. In his inaugural address, the Prime Minister mentioned several areas in which this sort of work would be done within his administration. Also on the list of priorities is the strengthening of financial accountability and efficiency of the public sector. Again, strengthening the capacity of the ministry to effectively regulate financial institutions and combat financial crimes. One watchword of the Ministry of Finance has always been financial inclusion, and the Prime Minister spoke at length about that this afternoon, getting the underbanked and the unbanked into the formal economy, and with the relaxing or the reorientation of institutional requirements. The final point on the priorities for the Ministry of Finance that I will mention this afternoon is also the improving of the internal efficiency and effectiveness of the ministry. There are some desired outcomes. I mentioned that there are outcomes that have to be measured and presented. So the desired outcomes for the Ministry of Finance during this cycle is the finding stability in the macroeconomic economy, and I may say finding, but I really mean creating a stable macroeconomy, effectively regulating ministries, departments, and agencies, as well as financial institutions, effectively managing public funds, and this one, I believe, is well in line with the user focus of this administration, a satisfied clientele. We saw Dr. Horace Chang enter the ballroom, and at this moment we will break as the Governor General returns to the ballroom to begin this afternoon's swearing-in ceremony of the four ministers of National Security, Finance, Health, and Foreign Affairs.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. His Excellency, the Governor General, the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen, will now address us, after which the Governor General's Secretary, Ryan Evans, will read the instruments of appointment.
The Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister, the Honorable Mr. Justice Brian Sykes, Chief Justice, Ministers designate, specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, greetings and welcome to the second swearing-in ceremony for the afternoon. It is a busy afternoon, but then we are in unusual times. We will swear in the first 4 ministers of government for the new administration. These portfolio ministers are critical to the continued smooth running of the machinery of government. Dr. Horace Chang, Dr. Nigel Clark, Dr. Christopher Tufton, and Mrs. Kamina Johnson-Smith. These individuals have accepted the Prime Minister's invitation to serve as ministers and have thereby indicated their willingness and commitment to contribute to the realization of the policy and program objectives of the government. I am sure you are aware of the responsibilities that will be entrusted to you as you serve the people of Jamaica. You will be required to, among other things, ensure the safety and security of citizens, manage the economy efficiently, contain the increasing incidents brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic and other matters regarding the health of the nation, and continue diplomatic relations with our international partners and also Jamaicans in the diaspora. Other ministers will be sworn in later in a timely manner, but the realities dictate that you will lead the charge. The expression "hit the ground running" has probably taken on new meaning for you. However, I am fully confident that you will do your best as you serve your country. Congratulations. I offer you all my best wishes and prayers as you continue your journey of service to Jamaica. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And now the Governor General's Secretary will read the instrument appointing Mrs. Kamina Johnson-Smith as Senator.
The Constitution of Jamaica, by command of His Excellency, the Governor General. To Mrs. Kamina Elizabeth Johnson-Smith, greetings. Whereas a Senate is to be appointed in and for Jamaica, and whereas by subsection 2 of Section 35 of the Constitution of Jamaica, certain senators are to be appointed by the Governor General in accordance with the advice of the Prime Minister. Now therefore I, Patrick Linton Allen, member of the Order of the Nation, Knight Grand Cross of the Most Distinguished Order of St. Michael and St. George, Commander of the Order of Distinction, Knight of Grace of the Most Venerable Order of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem, Governor General of Jamaica, in exercise of the above recited power, do hereby appoint you to be such a senator, given under my hand and the broad seal of Jamaica at King's House, the 7th day of September, in the year of our Lord, 2020, and the 69th year of the reign of Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II.
A photo opportunity will follow each presentation. The Governor General's Secretary will now read the instruments of appointment for the Cabinet Ministers.
The Constitution of Jamaica, by command of His Excellency, the Governor General. 2, Dr. Horace Anthony Chang, Dr. Nigel Andrew Lincoln Clark, Dr. Christopher Charles Tufton. Greetings. Whereas there is occasion for the appointment of ministers other than the Prime Minister, now therefore I, Patrick Linton Allen, member of the Order of the Nation, Knight Grand Cross of the Most Distinguished Order of St. Michael and St. George, Commander of the Order of Distinction, Knight of Grace of the Most Venerable Order of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem, Governor General of Jamaica, in exercise of the power conferred on me by subsection 1 of section 70 of the Constitution of Jamaica, and in accordance with the advice of the Prime Minister, do hereby appoint you, having been elected members of the House of Representatives, to be such ministers, given under my hand and the broad seal of Jamaica at King's House, this day of September, 7th day of September, in the year of our Lord, 2020, and the 69th year of the reign of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Affirmation first, and then the oath of office. But the two of them are.
I, Horace Anthony Chang, do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Jamaica, that I will uphold and defend the Constitution, the laws of Jamaica, and that I will conscientiously and impartially discharge my responsibilities to the people of Jamaica. I, Horace Anthony Chang, being appointed Minister, do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that I will do, to the best of my judgment at all times when so required, freely give my counsel and advice to the Governor General or any other person for the time being lawfully performing the functions of that office for the good management of the public affairs of Jamaica. And I do further solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that I will not on any account at any time whatsoever disclose the counsel, advice, opinion, or vote of any particular minister or parliamentary secretary, and that I will not accept the authority of the Cabinet, and to such extent as may be required for the good management of the affairs of Jamaica, directly or indirectly reveal the business or proceedings of the Cabinet or the nature or contents of any documents communicated to me as a minister, or any matter coming to my knowledge in my capacity as such, and that in all things I'll be true and faithful minister.
I didn't know you were going to affirm. I thought you swore. Okay, just put that in there.
Dr. Horace Chang, accepting the office of Minister of National Security, putting his signature to the instruments of his office by the direction of the Governor General, Sir Patrick Allen. As sanitization occurs, a few of the most important points for the Ministry of National Security. Those are citizen safety and security, public order, dealing with corruption at all levels, community safety, territorial integrity, crisis response and resilience, education, cybersecurity, critical infrastructure protection, and economic security. Dr. Nigel Clark takes the podium.
I, Nigel Andrew Lincoln Clark, do swear that I'll be faithful and bear true allegiance to Jamaica, that I will uphold and defend the Constitution and laws of Jamaica, and that I will conscientiously and impartially discharge my responsibilities to the people of Jamaica. So help me God. I, Nigel Andrew Lincoln Clark, being appointed minister, do swear that I will, to the best of my judgment, at all times when so required, freely give my counsel and advice to the Governor General for the good management of the public affairs of Jamaica, and that I do further swear that I will not on any account, at any time whatsoever, disclose the counsel, advice, opinion, or vote of any particular minister or parliamentary secretary, and that I will not, except with the authority of the cabinet, and to such extent as may be required for the good management of the affairs of Jamaica, directly or indirectly reveal the business or proceedings of the cabinet, or the nature or contents of any documents communicated to me as a minister, or any matter coming to my knowledge in my capacity as such, and that in all things I'll be a true and faithful minister. So help me God.
Of notable achievement for Dr. Nigel Clark, he worked out of the office of the Prime Minister and served as a principal interlocutor with the IMF on behalf of the government of Jamaica, and he played an integral role in the early successful termination of the Extended Fund Facility Agreement and Jamaica's entry into the US $1.6 billion precautionary standby arrangement with the fund within 8 months of the start of the Holness administration. We mentioned earlier that Dr. Clark also spearheaded the development and execution of the government's compassionate COVID allocation of resources for employees, better known as the CARE program. As of June 1, 2020, $3.6 billion have been transferred into the accounts of successful applicants. The program has been well received and acclaimed, and it has benefited 337,000 Jamaicans. And we expect, having accepted this office once again, Dr. Clark to continue the work along these lines. But the Ministry of National Security, the Ministry of Finance, now taking the podium for his swearing in, is Dr. Christopher Tufton for the Ministry of Health.
I, Christopher Charles Tufton, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Jamaica, that I will uphold and defend the Constitution and the laws of Jamaica, and that I will conscientiously and impartially discharge my responsibilities to the people of Jamaica. So help me God. I, Christopher Charles Tufton, being appointed minister, do swear that I will, to the best of my judgment, at all times when so required, freely give my counsel and advice to the Governor General or any other person for the time being lawfully performing the functions of that office, for the good management of the public affairs of Jamaica. And I do further swear that I will not, on any account, at any time whatsoever, disclose the counsel, advice, opinion, or vote of any particular minister or parliamentary secretary, and that I will not, except with the authority of the cabinet, and to such extent as may be required for the good management of the affairs of Jamaica, directly or indirectly reveal the business or proceedings of the cabinet or the nature or content of any document communicated to me as minister, or any matter coming to my knowledge in my capacity as such, and that in all things I will be a true and faithful minister. So help me God.
That is Dr. Christopher Tufton taking the oath of office. Today begins Dr. Tufton's fourth stint as a cabinet minister of Jamaica. One of the defining moments of his career has been his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, and certainly as he navigates the unenviable task of steering the country through what has been described as the biggest health crisis of post-independent Jamaica and the most significant public health challenge that the world has faced since the Spanish flu pandemic in 1918. The people of Jamaica have once again, and the Prime Minister, have once again given him the measure of their trust to lead them forward. Jamaica's response through the Ministry of Health and Wellness has been considered around the world to be quick and effective. It has earned high commendation internationally, the most significant of which was from the World Health Organization, the WHO, the specialized agency of the United Nations responsible for international public health.
Jamaica, by command of His Excellency the Governor General, to Senator Camino Elizabeth Johnson Smith, greetings. Whereas there is an occasion for the appointment of ministers other than the Prime Minister, now therefore I, Patrick Linton Allen, member of the Order of the Nation, Knight, Grand Cross of the Most Distinguished Order of St. Michael and St. George, Commander of the Order of Distinction, Knight of Grace of the Most Venerable Order of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem, Governor General of Jamaica. In exercise of the power conferred on me by subsection 1 of section 70 of the Constitution of Jamaica, and in accordance with the advice of the Prime Minister, do hereby appoint you, being a member of the Senate, to be such a minister, given under my hand and the broad seal of Jamaica at King's House, this 7th day of September, in the year of our Lord 2020, and the 69th year of the reign of Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II.
Camina Johnson Smith approaches the podium for her swearing in.
Thank you, Excellency. I, Camina Elizabeth Johnson Smith, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Jamaica, that I will uphold and defend the Constitution and the laws of Jamaica, and that I will conscientiously and impartially discharge my responsibilities to the people of Jamaica, so help me God. I, Camina Elizabeth Johnson Smith, being appointed minister, do swear that I will, to the best of my judgment, at all times when so required, freely give my counsel and advice to the Governor General or any other person for the time being lawfully performing the functions of that office for the good management of the public affairs of Jamaica. And I do further swear that I will not, on any account, at any time whatsoever, disclose the counsel, advice, opinion, or vote of any particular minister or parliamentary secretary, and that I will not, except with the authority of the Cabinet, and to such extent as may be required for the good management of the affairs of Jamaica, directly or indirectly reveal the business or proceedings of the Cabinet, or the nature or contents of any documents communicated to me as minister, or any matter coming to my knowledge in my capacity as such, and that in all things I will be a true and faithful minister, so help me God.
Senator Johnson Smith first assumed the office of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade on March 7, 2016, the first woman to hold the post. And you notice I refer to her, and we refer to her as Senator, and she also had gotten an instrument of office before this one. That was the instrument of office for her position as Senator, and now she's signing for the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Now, as Jamaica's foreign minister, she has represented her country at a number of bilateral, regional, hemispheric, and international fora in Africa, the Americas, Asia, the Caribbean, and Europe. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade is committed to promoting friendship and cooperation with other countries, promoting international peace and security, providing representation overseas, projecting a positive image of Jamaicans abroad, and performing consular functions for Jamaican nationals overseas, returning residents, and visitors to Jamaica.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us congratulate our new ministers. We have come to the end of this ceremony. On behalf of the Governor General, I'd like to thank you for attending and for your support for the new ministers. Good afternoon. Thank you.
As the ceremony ends, our live stream also ends, and it has been our pleasure to bring you the live broadcast of the swearing-in ceremony for Jamaica's 9th Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Michael Holness, which was followed by the swearing-in of 4 of his cabinet ministers, the Ministers of Health, the Ministers of National Security, Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, and Finance. The Prime Minister will address us now.
Ministers are servants. It is a theme which I would like to stress today. You are appointed to serve. It is a selfless task, and every day you give of yourself. It can also be a thankless task, but that should not deter you from service. Excellency, I have had the opportunity to serve with the 4 ministers who have been appointed today. And like the others who will be appointed shortly, I know that every day they give of themselves. And I am satisfied, and I am indeed honored and privileged to have served with them, and I make the recommendation to you, Excellency, for their appointment without hesitation. I know that they too are concerned about the mandate that the government has received. They too have expressed that they are very cautious, because whilst it is an incredible affirmation of their own performance, they also see it as a tremendous burden placed on them, because to whom much is given, much is expected. And they have said to me that they do not want to fail the people, and that they will work with every fiber in their body, with all their energy, to ensure that we are a successful government and we deliver on behalf of the people. Having said that, the task ahead of us has to be carefully managed. It is not one where we can, without strategic deployment of our resources, achieve the goals and objectives that we want. So, in putting together the government, we have decided to move very quickly to ensure that we have 4 critical posts filled immediately. National security, Minister Horace Chan. I deliberately did not mention security in my swearing-in speech because I know I would have had the opportunity afterwards to say a few words on that. We have signed on to a national consensus on crime fighting. That consensus we consider to be durable, and it will go across administrations. So, though there is technically a new administration, we will, of course, honor that agreement which we have signed, and we expect that the opposition will do the same. A priority for us is to get the legislative agenda finished. We have several pieces of legislation, including the Enhanced Security Measures Act, which will, if quickly done, replace the need to have states of public emergency. We hope that we can have this completed very quickly so that we can move ahead with our crime fighting agenda. On that note, I would also wish to say that Minister Chang, who has served very well and who has been a very good friend and supporter to me, and someone who the entire party and government can look to for guidance and support, I find that it is appropriate that I advise the nation that Minister Chang will also hold the title of Deputy Prime Minister. Jamaica, during our last administration, played pivotal roles in several international fora and advocating several major issues. We intend to continue, and we have many projects, and indeed we serve in many areas internationally, and Minister Johnson Smith will continue in that regard to carry Jamaica's flag very high in the international community. I've said much about our economic program, so it would come as no surprise that one of the first appointments would have to be the Minister of Finance, who has that significant task now of taking our 10-point COVID-19 recovery plan and bringing it into reality. So I have supreme confidence in the abilities of Minister Clark to do this. And of course, that ubiquitous backdrop of the COVID-19 pandemic. Immediately as we leave this venue, we go to another venue to address the nation about the measures that we will take on COVID-19. And I will have Minister Tufton beside me as usual, and in fact he will probably announce the measures this afternoon. So again, it would come as no surprise that Minister Tufton would be one of the first ministers to be appointed. Just to close, the task ahead, it's not going to be an easy task, and I'm well aware of this. Part of my job will be to do a constant assessment and evaluation of the performance of the team. I will have to play more the role now of coach rather than player to make sure that any strategic gaps, any tactical shortcomings, that those are immediately corrected, and that when we are taking the long view, we are actually looking in the right direction. And in that regard, I have to ensure that I have a team that is competent. I have a team that has the drive and energy. A team that exercises good judgment, and a team that is, a team that understands their role and are great advocates for the mission of the government. And in this regard, I'm confident that I have enough personnel who fit the criteria. People who are competent in their subject areas, people who have the drive to get things done. That has been the definition of the previous administration, and it will continue to be the definition of this administration. Our ministers must get things done. But as they strive to get things done, they must be good communicators, and they must be good advocates. They must bring to the public the mission. They must explain to the public the mission, and they must incorporate the public in the mission. But above all else, they must exercise good judgment. Oftentimes, the drive to get things done comes at a trade-off with judgment. We can have no such trade-off in this administration, which is why we stress competence. So ministers must know their subject area. They must know the legal environment in which they are operating. They must dedicate themselves to getting results. That is the drive. They must keep the public on board. They must be good advocates and good communicators. But above all else, they must exercise good judgment. And I believe if we do this across the board, this is a government that will ensure the highest integrity, the highest dignity, and the highest efficiency of the government and the state. I wish you well, and I know that Jamaica will recover stronger because of your ministry and service.
Prime Minister, we thank you for your words of encouragement and instruction. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we could put our hands together one final time for these four ministers who will now take to their desks and their jobs. Thank you for attending. Have a good afternoon.
For those who have been with us, not physically, but digitally, we also thank you for attending. It was our pleasure to bring you the live broadcast of the swearing-in of Jamaica's 9th Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Michael Horace, which was followed, as we just experienced, by the swearing-in of 4 of his cabinet ministers. We thank you so much for joining us. It's been an historic occasion, and I personally hope that you enjoyed our coverage as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. The orator for this afternoon's proceedings was Faye Ellington. Our animated sign language interpreter was Antoinette Aiken. And I am Theodore Henry. And on behalf of the production team at the Jamaica Information Service, walk good and stay safe.